Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mogul Q&A. We're excited that you're all joining us today. We're going to give people a couple minutes to roll in. We see some people have been waiting already for some of you for up to an hour. I saw you in there in the chat. So it's good to see everybody today. Before we get started, welcome. Yes, we're recording this. Yes, this will be on YouTube and all of the places. So if you miss any portion or need to jump out early, no big deal. You'll be able to catch up on the content later on. And just a friendly little disclaimer before we really dive in. So let's start with introducing our host. I recognize many of your names already from town halls. Many of you might have met me already on an office hours or seen me in a town hall. My name is Emily Tangala. I'm on the product team at Hospitable, and I'm also a property owner and self-manager. So I actually was a customer of Hospitable before I became an employee of Hospitable.
And then I'll hop in. My name is Brandon Hudeman. I'm a CPA according to that. I really am a CPA, but joining as the new accountant in residence with Hospitable. I've been a Hospitable customer since 2019. Been here for 3 weeks or so now. And then I actually do a variety of things with our property management company. So we own, self-manage, and then we do arbitrage as well. And then we also manage for others. So.
And I'm Brian. I'm on the sales team, really the customer success team. And I've probably talked to some of y'all in the past, but I'm also a property manager in Athens, Georgia. My wife and I started using Hospitable in 2019, I think, for our properties here. So also a host who's been using the product for a really long time at this point.
Cool. Thanks, guys. I'm going to kick Brian off the stage now, but he is going to be in the chat. If you guys have any questions as we're going, please post them in the chat. We're going to flag some of those questions to answer as we go. So I might answer some of them live in the middle of the presentation. We might save some to the end, but please post them as you think of them. I think that's the best way to go about that. All right, let's do this. I figured we could kind of get started by talking a little bit about the 3 different plans that Hospitable offers. Many of you are probably already Hospitable customers and have some of these plans, but for those of you who might not be customers yet and are maybe just tuning in, we wanted to kind of get you up to speed. So we offer 3 different plans. We have a host plan, a professional plan, and a mogul plan. Today, we're specifically talking about the features available and coming in our mogul plan. The host plan is really meant for people who are just starting out, have 1 or 2 properties, and are really looking for a tool to kind of streamline things. A unified inbox, guest experience, automated calendar sync, operations management, metrics. Our host plan really is robust, and it's great for people who have 1 or 2 properties. Our professional plan is really when you're starting to kind of grow your business. It comes with everything in the host plan, but also includes in the price direct premium, and device automation for up to 2 devices per property. And then there's the mogul plan, which we'll dive in much deeper today, that includes features for owner management, business operations, more smart devices per property, and a ton of advanced AI features to help you get even faster and more accurate with your guest experience as well. So I would love to kind of learn a little bit more about those of you who are tuning in today. How do I start this poll? Oh no. Let's see. Reopen. There we go. Okay. There's a poll that should be up on the right side of your screen now. I'd love to hear more from you guys about your business model. Are you a property manager? You're managing on behalf of owners. Maybe you're an Airbnb co-host. Maybe you arbitrage, you rent a property and then manage that, an owner operator, or are you more? Are you like Brandon and you're mixing a bunch of those different models together? I see some answers coming in. It looks like there's a really big mix. There's a lot less arbitrage on here than I expected, 0% so far. So that's super interesting. I'm going to keep that poll open for the beginning of the talk, and then I'll close it once we get a couple of more votes. Okay, our agenda for today. We're going to talk a little bit about what is a mogul, who is a mogul, how does Hospitable define a mogul, and what is a mogul's journey. We'll talk a little bit about our mogul plan today, all the features that are available and included as a part of that plan, and then our vision for the future. We have a lot up our sleeve. We have a lot in the works. And we have a lot to do, and we're really excited to share with you kind of our vision where we're headed. And then, of course, at the end, this is a Q&A, so we'll be bringing some of your questions before the entire audience, and we can answer those live. And like I said, if you guys have questions beforehand, please ask them in the chat now. We might answer them midway through the presentation as well. This is a little bit different than a town hall. No one will come on stage, but we will bring your question forward for everyone to see. All right, are you a mogul? The journey to become a mogul is really very, very straightforward, as we all know. First, you major in hospitality, you minor in STR. Obviously kidding. Literally, when we talk to people who are moguls, who are building a short-term rental empire, nobody went to school for this. There is really no school for this. I, for one, went to art school. There's literally like a million different paths to get here. And instead of it being linear, we find it looks a lot more like this. Many of you guys are holding down W-2 jobs or doing other things on the side. This might not be your main thing, but you might be interested in making it your main thing, or at least building the foundation so that it can be. But one thing is true of all moguls is that they started somewhere. They managed one property first. They may have arbitraged it. It might have been their family home that they were maybe trying to, just make sure they could cover the bills. Then they got really good at the guest experience side of things. They had a bunch of 5-star review, and their neighbor called, their cousin called, a friend of a friend. Word started spreading, and maybe you picked up another property. You're starting to manage more. And then what happens? Sometimes you scale, or sometimes you focus on the foundation before you scale, but more often than not, we actually see people scaling first before they've actually focused on the foundation. This is really where the mogul plan comes in. We want to help you build that foundation and be that foundation so that it's easy to scale and your business doesn't kind of crumble as you're scaling. You can acquire more properties or more clients quickly, and because of that strong foundation, you're able to move forward without hesitation. So the mogul profile to us is really several things. I think the most straightforward is you manage for others. Maybe you're a property manager and you need things like owner management, owner experience features. Owner management for many moguls becomes so much more of a time suck than guest management. And that's when like, I might need something to help me because my business is about providing great experiences for guests. And when I'm spending more time, dealing with the business and dealing with client owners, that might be a sign that I need something to help me streamline this foundation. Accounting becomes a major headache at some point. You long for a tax season that's simple and easy. And many moguls find themselves deciding, okay, if I want to keep growing, I need to expand my team, whether that be expand the team to handle guest communication, owner operations, generating statements, accounting, whatever it may be. But then there's the flip side. There's people who own their own properties and manage them. They still have accounting needs. They want to take full advantage of tax benefits that are available to them. As you grow, sometimes too, you decide to handle virtual assistants to help you with accounting and guest experience. And many of us, we want to scale, but we're not quite sure how. And so the mogul plan is really for all of these different players, whether you're managing for yourself or you're managing for others. So let's focus a little bit on the features that are actually available in the plan today. And we'll talk a lot more about what's coming in the future, and we'll leave a lot of time for questions as well. So as I kind of mentioned earlier, the mogul plan today is really aimed at streamlining your owner experience, your business operations, and your guest experience, specifically for those who have a lot of properties. Starting with owner statements. Now, no matter what plan you're on in Hospitable, you are allowed to try owner statements for one property. So if you haven't done that yet today and you'd like to give it a shot, we'd encourage you to go ahead and try this out. You can find it under Operations Owner Statements. And if you haven't yet set it up, it will prompt you to do so. And really, you can do it in just a couple of minutes. It's quite quick and easy. So this feature is automatically generating monthly statements or invoices for your owners. It highlights the reservations that happened that month or that you want to recognize that month. You can add transactions. So if you want your owner to pay you back for the shampoo you bought for the property, you can add that transaction to collect that from them. You can also add reimbursements to the owner if you need to do that for any reason. And it summarizes either what you owe the owner monthly or what they owe you. You can publish that and download it in a PDF and share it to the owner. But in order to actually generate those statements, we need to know more about your commission and how that's structured. So the first part of your setup process is going to be configuring your earnings. This can get really granular, but we've tried to make it very simple also. The earnings is made up of a couple of parts. You have your commission. This is the percentage that you charge on the reservation. Most of our hosts are charging their commission on the accommodation after the discount. But you can also choose to charge it based on the payout, or you can customize it and pick any number of reservation line items to charge your commission off of. So for example, you might say, I want to charge it on the accommodation after the discount and the pet fee. You can do that if you'd like. You can also configure really specific ways to share reservation fees with your owner. So using the pet fee example, if you as the manager would like to keep $50 of the pet fee and pass your owner 25, you can do that. You can set that in your commission agreement and it will be calculated automatically for you on your statement. There's also the option to do a flat fee per reservation, and also display pass-through taxes if those pass-through taxes are collected and are changing hands between you and the owner at any point. You can also add transactions to show on your statements, which I've already talked a little bit about. One of the powerful things about transactions is that you can set them up to repeat automatically. So you can do weekly, monthly, per reservation, or for every single booked night. So that really covers a variety of use cases. You can upload your receipts to keep track of that. And we've gotten a lot of feedback that you guys want us to pull these transactions directly from your accounting software. So that is something that we're looking into as well to make it a lot more automated so that you're not actually going into Hospitable to input something that might already exist in QuickBooks. And adjustments. This is a newer feature that we're very excited about. Many of you use Airbnb's Resolution Center to collect money from your guests, maybe if something breaks or maybe you're refunding them for something. And because of how the way owner statements works, we really needed a way to understand what that adjustment is actually for. Now, the way we get that information back from Airbnb, we actually don't know. We just know that it's $100 and that the guest paid you $100, but we don't know why. So we worked with our AI team to look at the conversation that you've been having with the guest, look at the fees that you have on the property, and actually suggest how that should be handled. So it's doing a really great job of saying, okay, this adjustment was $300 and 100 of it is a refund on the last night and 200 of it is a refund on the cleaning fee. So we'll suggest how that should be categorized. You can edit it, accept it, and move on. And then your commission is calculated with those adjustments in mind. So if you're actually taking commission off of the accommodation, that would adjust that. Or if the owner is receiving the entire cleaning fee and there was a refund, their amount would go down as well. So it's super smart and just a really great way to make sure that you're not actually like missing out on any money that you are owed or that you earned because of an adjustment in Airbnb or other platforms. We also have our accounting integration, which is new as of a couple of weeks ago. We started with QuickBooks with the goal to add more softwares down the line. So I'd love to hear in the chat what you guys use and are interested in seeing. Our accounting integration is really aiming to kind of automate the categorization of reservation financials in your accounting software. That is a huge time suck if you're having to go into QuickBooks at the end of every single month, pull your reservations in and say, this part is accommodation, this part is cleaning fee. If you want to be granular, that's really a lot of work. And if you want to run this like a business, you really need to be granular. So we've released our accounting integrations to help take some of the time out of that at the end of every month for you. And AI features. There's a ton of AI features available as a part of Mogul. As you're building, growing, and scaling your business, guest experience, obviously there's more of it to do. There's more conversations you have to have with guests because you probably have more properties. So we have all these AI features that are helping to to streamline the guest experience so that you can actually get back with your guests faster, get 5-star reviews, and continue focusing on your business without the guest communication side really bogging you down. However, Copilot, I should start with this. This isn't really about guest experience. This is about chatting with Hospitable about your property's performance. This is really cool. It's a chat GPT like interface, and you can just kind of ask it questions about your property. This is a real example from my account where I said, how has February this year performed compared to last year? I had a really great February at my property, which was weird because usually February is terrible. And I wanted to know, like, what was the actual difference? And I just asked a quick question, and Copilot was able to reference all the data about my property and get me the answer that I was looking for. You can save those conversations in the sides. You can come back to one and ask additional questions if you'd like. Really powerful tool to help you kind of understand how your property is performing. And there's so much more coming with Copilot down the line, which we'll hint at a little bit later. We also have AI-based incident detection. This is actually looking at the conversations that you're having with your guest or that your guest is messaging you about and highlighting potential issues or areas of negative sentiment. So we'll tag the conversation with that, highlight it in the inbox so you know where to focus your time. And we'll also go the extra mile and offer to cancel the review request for you if you feel like maybe their experience is to the point where you're not going to get a great review and you don't want to like remind them to review you all the time. And after hours auto reply was announced in our last town hall, something we're super excited about. This is our first start at an auto reply AI inbox. You can set time bound restrictions for this. So you can turn it on just while you're sleeping, or maybe turn it on when you're in a plane and are not going to have Wi-Fi, or when you're on your summer vacation and just don't want to deal with it. You can tell it when to escalate conversations to you. And you can also attribute each message to AI if you'd like to. In my case, I just have a little blurb at the end that says, this message was written by my AI assistant, just so they know that, you know, it's not me and I'll be able to get to them in the morning if anything was actually needed. So all of that is available today, right now, if you were to upgrade. Again, focusing heavily on owner experience, owner management, streamlining your business operations, and more AI-powered guest experience features. But we have a long ways to go and a lot to do and a lot that we're super, super excited about. So I'm going to use the next part of our conversation to kind of cast the vision and tell you what it is that we're working on. And we'll be super excited to get your feedback as well in the chat. So here is a glimpse at our roadmap just for the next couple of months. I think we can achieve all of this in the next couple of months, and then we'll be on to bigger and better things. We'll talk about each of these things a little bit more granularly, but first, I'm going to pass it off to Brandon to talk about expert accounting recommendations.
Awesome. Oh, there we go. Thanks, Emily. So, as Emily said, accounting is a big deal when you're working in this business, and it's can be very mundane. And so, how can we make it easy for you? You know, accounting can be really tricky and really difficult if you don't know what you're doing. And we've heard a lot from our customers that integrating with QuickBooks has been great, but what's the next step? Because really, right now we've set up a lot for our property owners. So, what we've talked about is what do we do for people who are not just a property manager? What if you self-own? What if you arbitrage? That may change how you do accounting. That may change how you're looking at owner statements. So right now, a big project of ours is we are now integrating more chart of accounts that are specific to the different types of owners there are. So if you self-own, arbitrage, or you manage. So that would be more specific to what you're doing for your business type and how that's going to help move your accounting in your business. As well as we've talked to, you know, there are a limited number when you're adding transactions, and we've seen that we're hoping to continue to pull and push the ability to automate those expenses and pulling those transactions in for you into Hospitable. But there's only, you know, a limited amount right now. So we have already looked at how can we add more and more. So we're already in the process of developing more chart of accounts with expenses. Specifically, let's say you have supplies and you have a cleaning supplies account, or a house supplies, or repair supplies. There's so many different accounts that we're hoping that we can just set up and recommend for you to implement into your specific accounting software. So there's way more to come with that. And hopefully that will be rolling out shortly, as well as, like we've said, we've heard a lot from our owners that owner statements, they're using them for themselves compared to actually specifically using them for a property manager for a client. So we're definitely looking at how we can really adapt what we have now and help all aspects of the business types. The other piece is now, I've only been here for, about 3 weeks, but we're already on the move to have me be available for office hours and talk to you about your accounting and then maybe helping you integrate your accounting into our software if you're looking to use QuickBooks and looking to add more and just kind of learn a little bit more about how you're doing your accounting. So that's more to come, and hopefully it's coming very, very soon. But that's high level where we're working from an accounting standpoint, and like we said, this is going to continue to evolve and grow over the next few months. And so we're very excited. I'm very excited, and I'm sure Emily is very excited to have me here to help with that too.
It's true. I am very excited. It's awesome to have somebody on the team who is like the expert, who we can just quickly send a message in Slack and say, like, is this how we should be doing things? And Brandon's job is, not just to help you guys, but also to actually advise the product team. He sits on the product team, and that's really unique for a company in our space. And so we're super excited to have him. There are a couple of questions in the chat based off things that I've already kind of talked about. So I think I'm going to bring some of them forward. The first question is from Amy. She asked, when are additional details going to be shown on owner statements? This was mentioned in the last town hall. You're right, it was. Currently, it's very simple. Okay, you're right, it is. How do I remove this? Okay, so I am going to talk a little bit about our plans for statement customization and our timeline around that. So we created our original statement template intended just to be like allow your owners to kind of quickly read left to right and understand the calculations behind them. But we've had a lot of feedback that either people want a lot more data on there or a lot less data on there. So what we're working on now, literally the team is probably writing their code as I talk, is the ability to customize the columns that show on the statement. So this is probably going to look like a pretty simple show hide column picker, where you can say like, you know what, I don't want to show them the total of reservation fees that they're getting. I want to show them individually what reservation fees they're getting. I want them to know how much they made in cleaning fees, how much they made in pet fees, or how much they owe in those things. So that is something that we're working on now. One of the precursors to doing that is we needed to add a column which we're calling the commissionable base, which we released yesterday. It's kind of a mouthful, but it's very clear. It's like, what is the amount that you're actually charging your commission on? That's important because if you wanted to show less, you could choose to just show that in the total, and the math is gonna make sense when you visually look at it. So we're always gonna be iterating on statements, and everybody wants something very, very different. So as far as the timeline goes, like we're shipping things every week that kind of work towards the ability to customize it. And we've actually been talking as a team too, like, how can we give an even better experience instead of like making you go somewhere and configure something? What if you could just upload a PDF of your existing statement and we use AI to read that and understand your commission, understand how you want it to look, and essentially reproduce that? Those are things that we're looking at doing as well to make this even easier so that you don't feel like you have to come in here and configure a bunch of stuff, because that's not giving you time back, that's taking it. And so we're working towards all of that as well. We also want to allow you to highlight your brand on your template. So it doesn't just look like something generic, but it actually says like your company's name, maybe in your colors with your logo, maybe the property's image, whatever it is that you want to highlight. This should not be coming from Hospitable. It should be coming from you and from your company, because it's all about how you're presenting yourself to your clients, the people who are paying you money, right? And another element of customizing the statement is defining your own custom cadence. Right now, we do it by calendar month. That was the most common, and a lot of people are happy with that. But we've heard of others wanting to do it weekly, or maybe do it monthly, but then do one for the entire quarter to kind of recap how the first quarter of the year went. We've also heard a lot of you wanting to do it for every single reservation, just so the owner knows, like, this is how much I'm getting from this reservation. So that's pretty interesting too. And we want to give you the controls there. I talked a little bit about your company brand, and this is a project that we're super excited about because it's not just going to help those on the Mogul plan, but it's also going to help anybody who does direct bookings and stuff like that as well. The initial version of that is really going to be to create your company's brand. This is how you want to show yourself to your owners. So I know many of you have like themed properties. Like this will not be that. This will be like your property management brand and what you want your owner to see. Um, and it's not gonna stop at like logos and colors. It can go far beyond that. We're gonna allow you to purchase or connect domains, add subdomains, mail servers, so that any communication that maybe Hospitable is facilitating, but it's coming from you, will come from your email. The owner's portal will live at your domain. Maybe it'll be ownerportal.propertypro.com. How cool would that be? A place where your owners are constantly faced with like your company's brand, and they don't really need to know much about Hospitable because they hired you. And the future of this can be very, very cool. Ultimately, we want to leverage this to actually help you win more business. This is probably a whole nother Q&A down the line, but we'll have all the pieces to allow you to build a company site. You're familiar probably with our direct booking sites. We can allow you to build a company site that highlights your management company so that you can actually win more business. People can go there and see how you're performing, request an agreement, ask you to manage their property. Those are all kind of further down the line, but starting with this, the simple, basically company-facing brand, logo, domain is where we're going to start, and the team is working on some of those pieces now. Okay, there's a lot in the chat about owners portals. Let me see if I can bring some of these questions forward before we really decide to dive in. Oh, okay. Somebody asked for an ETA, so I will get to that. Okay, let me just do this. I'm going to do a quick run through of the different features that we're envisioning for the owners portal. And I'll give a little bit of a clue into how we're actually going to approach this. The owners portal is something that's going to have an infinite roadmap. It's going to always be growing. There's always going to be room for improvement, but we have a very clear path to be able to release something soon that still provides a ton of value. And the thing that we're going to start with is the most obvious. It's the ability for your owners to access their statements. They're going to be able to see all their past monthly statements, download their statements, review their statements. And what's going to be nice about that is because they won't be interacting with a PDF anymore, we can actually leverage the UI to maybe show them some extra information if they're curious. They could be able to hover over something and see a tooltip so they know how it calculates. There's really a lot that we can be doing in the owners portal, and that's where we're going to start. And again, it's going to be living on your own domain, coming from your own email. So it's not going to be Hospitable branded. I want to make a quick note. These screenshots to the right are a prototype that our team is using to kind of have conversations around this. So it's probably going to look much different. It's probably going to look much better, but this will just give you an idea of the functionality that we have in the works. The next iteration is also going to be really cool. It's going to be supporting owner payments and payout methods. So this means that no longer will you have to actually collect payment from your owner in some other place. They can actually go and add their payment method in the portal and then click pay, or say just automate the payment. I don't want to click it every month. Or alternatively, if you actually pay out your owners at the end of the month because you've been taking the reservation payouts, they can connect their pay out method, similar to how direct premium works. So they just connect their bank account and we just throw the money in it for them. We really want to take the pain and management out of the whole process of paying between owners and managers. We can also talk about owner communication within the portal, if that's something that our customers are interested in. So we'd love to hear in the chat, is this something you want to see? We've heard it from some people. I think at this point it's a little bit lower on our priority because there's things that are giving a little bit more value initially. But this is just to paint the picture of what the portal could do. We could be highlighting with AI issues in the property that need to be taken care of. And maybe then you say, I want to tell my owner about that. Maybe the owner is responsible for, hiring someone to change out their air filters. So maybe we can surface that with AI and then use that to help you communicate issues with the property with your owner. So that's another thing we could be doing as well. Owner stays. I'm excited about this one because right now owner stays, well, we don't really have a concept of owner stays. When managers are creating owner stays on behalf of their owners in Hospitable, it's just a manual booking. But really owner stays could have a lot more that we need to know about them. Does the owner clean it themselves or do they pay less for the cleaning? Do they pay anything at all? Are they limited with how many stays they can have in the year? I've talked to many property managers who say, my owner can only stay for 10 days, and one of those days cannot be on spring break. So we want to give you the controls there and basically have that stuff that's like built into your agreement with the owner, um, feeding into this calendar that the owner can use to see when they are able to actually book upcoming stays if they would like to do that directly from the portal. Last but not least, we have a slew of AI-driven features that are coming at you. Nick, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I see that you joined. Would you like to talk about any of these things? I actually can't see. Let me add him. Oh no, I can't hear you. Okay, I'm gonna kick you off, but now I will talk
No,
about
wait,
these
no.
things.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes, here we go. Good. Good. Yeah, so as Emily mentioned, yeah,
Oops.
AI pipeline across the board and for Mogul specifically. I'll talk about what's here. There are a lot more things beyond this, including some kind of theoretical experimental ones. But yeah, just going down this list, if you're already kind of thinking about upsells or experimenting with them on the Hospitable platform, upsells will be baked into the auto reply functionality that Emily already talked about, meaning that there will be basically an end-to-end kind of upsell engine looking at the available products you set up on Hospitable. And given the state of the conversation with the guest, the AI will just decide kind of for you when's a good time to offer an upsell that is relevant for that guest based on what they've been talking about, maybe based on where they're coming from, based on their past reviews and so on, to kind of try and get more revenue from them for you, basically, at the ideal time. Next, the Knowledge Hub, which I assume many of you will be using if you're using Suggested AI, because that is the way to really give it that additional context that it needs to write answers that are, relevant, factually correct, sound more like you. Right now, it is on a per property basis, meaning that if you have, let's say, 5 properties in your portfolio, you have to go into each one and adjust the Knowledge Hub for every single property on its own. What we're working on now is evolving that to have a more general Knowledge Hub for your account across your entire property. So you'll be able to manage the policies, guidelines, trash days, whatever you want, in a much more intuitive fashion across your entire portfolio. So like if you have a lot of overlapping knowledge, again, policies, whatever, you won't have to go in and do it 5, 10, however many times across all of your properties individually. It'll be just like one managed place to do this. Going back to Copilot, right now it's a way to get information out of the system. But obviously what we want to do is make it easy for you to action things and have Copilot be that method for doing that. For example, you might want to send out a message to a few of your guests and just ask Copilot to do that. You just, speak out loud what it is that you want to send. We transcribe it. Copilot kind of creates a message using the Suggested AI and auto reply features behind the scenes, confirms if that's what you want, and you go, yep, that's it, and off it goes, sends it for you. Stuff like that. So the incident detection feature, otherwise known as sentiment analysis, we look forward to evolving that to something that really helps you keep track of things that require your attention. And so we're envisioning a kind of new dashboard, new screen where things that you really need to pay attention to for one reason or another are surfaced easily for you to consume, kind of in one place, rather than having to go through the inbox, look at different conversations, what's happening. Just a centralized place for you to have basically kind of a task list, essentially, for things that require your attention across your entire portfolio. And finally, something that's just a little bit further down the line compared to these other features, we are looking more and more into how we can use AI to help your property's performance across all OTAs. Now, that's a kind of very kind of umbrella term, and there's a lot that goes into this, but the low-hanging fruit is we obviously have access to all your reviews and conversations and things that other guests talk about, whether with you or through reviews, that might be things that impact their experience during the stays. Again, we can pick up on that automatically with AI and let you know that, look, if you do so and so, chances are future guests will leave more 5-star reviews for you, for example. Things like this we are looking at more and more actively. Like we want to not only make it easier for you to manage your rentals, but also to make sure you're getting the best possible performance out of your rental. And we have basically all the information we need to make that happen. It's just kind of a matter of time at this point. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Nick. And sorry to put you on the spot like that. It was just best coming from you, the one who builds it all. If you don't mind staying on stage for a bit, we have several like AI specific questions, and this might be a great time to ask them.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see. What should I bring up? Aha. Here we go. Andrew asks or says, Copilot sounds amazing. Does it reference previous guest messages?
So Copilot specifically right now, no, but that's something that will be in place very soon. Like for you to know, for any given kind of question that you might ask, there is a whole web of things that we potentially need to put in place in our system to actually make that happen. So we're kind of powering through one by one all sorts of different functionality that we need to build into Copilot to make it happen. In this particular case, yeah, if you want to ask Copilot something about whether like which guest was it that talked about the broken jacuzzi or something like that, yeah, that's not in now, but to make that happen, yeah, we need to build in that little bit, like 1 or 2 kind of tools behind the scenes that Copilot would be able to hook into to use. So short answer, no. Longer answer is very soon.
Awesome. We have one more AI question in the chat. And by the way, before we answer this one, we're almost at the Q&A section. So please keep adding to the chat Q&A if you have any questions that you'd like us to bring on stage and answer. While you're doing that, what AI is Mogul using? Liam would like to get a little technical.
Sure. Again, there's a short answer and a long answer. The short answer is, if you know what I'm about to say, great. If not, it doesn't really matter. It's using the latest GPT-4o model from OpenAI. The long answer is we've experimented with quite a lot of models over the last like 8 months or so, including multiple models from Anthropic, multiple models from Google, and I think one other provider, I forget which one, but and multiple models from OpenAI itself. So the underlying story there is that one particular model from OpenAI performs the best out of all of them for a lot of our use cases at Hospitable. Now, that's not to say we always use this one model. We actually mix and match depending on the use case. Like in some cases, for example, with in owner statements, the AI-powered adjustments, we use O3 Mini. So there's a reasoning model, like we need a little bit more kind of firepower behind the scenes. So we use that. But yeah, again, short answer, GPT-4o, latest from November, mixing in with a bit of O3 Mini here and there where necessary.
I would actually like to take this next AI question for myself because I have personal experience from this one just in the past couple of days. So Chris asks, is the AI in our messages a learning AI? Like if the guest asks, where's the remote? Is it going to remember this property for the next time the question is asked? Okay, well, maybe in this specific use case, if the remote's lost, it won't know. But let me tell you about how I actually used this a couple of days ago. I have a property that's about an hour and a half away from me. I don't get up there that often. And sometimes I forget like stuff we have, right? And the guest said, do you guys have a crock pot at your property? And I found myself being like, I don't know. I think we do, but I'm not really sure if we have a crock pot. And I was like trying to sort through pictures. I was about to text my cleaner. And then I was like, wait a second, AI will know this. And so I used the suggest a reply with AI, and it was able to reference past conversations where I had told guests, yes, in fact, we have a crock pot and it's in the bottom left cabinet under the sink. So the short answer is yes, it does learn. And it's very good at it from personal experience. I've had it tell guests exactly how to turn off string lights, which at our property is really confusing to do for some reason, and it directs them exactly how to because it's seen me do that in the past. Nick, maybe you can share more about like the message history that we use. Is it from the time they connect their hospitable account or from when?
It's kind of a combination. So for all new accounts, for sure, it's from the moment that they connect their account. We do several things. One is we use information going back. I don't remember the exact period of time, but like sufficiently far back to populate the knowledge hub automatically. So you don't even need to import any PDF, connect touch data, anything like that. You already have some like policies and instructions that you typically talk about ready for you in the knowledge hub for the AI to use. But even on top of that, for every account, every conversation that you have with the guest, the AI learns, in air quotes, from it, which means that I think there we do have a restriction. We go back 18 months max to basically, I'm not going to get super technical here, but we kind of save messages between you and your guest in a particular way, so that in the future, like in Emily's case with the crockpot, when there's a question or in general like a conversation about a topic that like closely resembles something that's happened in the past, the AI, again in air quotes, has learned that like it's somewhere in our system, and we can pull that intelligently and kind of add it to the AI context for it to use. We have things that we're working on to improve that even further. But the way it is now, it like Emily mentioned, it's already pretty powerful.
Awesome. Okay, I think I'm going to go to a quick poll before we officially move into the Q&A portion, and we answered a couple of AI ones up front. So thanks, Nick, for joining to answer those. All right, let's see if I can figure out how to trigger this poll better than I did the first time. Okay, there we go. We would love to hear from you about which Mogul features you're the most excited about. What we find is that many of our moguls are asking for different things, and we use their feedback to help us prioritize what we focus on next. And so hearing what you guys are really interested in is going to help us with this prioritization. We're seeing some votes coming in. It seems like people are super excited about the AI stuff. That's awesome. Lots of votes on the accounting software integration on the opposite side. So that's great. I'm going to keep that poll open while we answer some other questions. I also want to share, if you know enough and are ready to become a mogul, you can upgrade from your account at any time just by clicking settings, subscription, and go into your plan page. It's going to give you all the information about the pricing and what is included. But if you have more questions and you'd like to chat with someone, you can book a call with Brian. I meant to have a link handy to drop in the chat to do that. Maybe, Brian, if you have the link, you could throw it in the chat. Brian's calendar is very busy chatting with potential moguls. So if you can find a time and book that, he'd be happy to talk to you, but you're always able to upgrade from directly within the product as well. You don't have to have a call with Brian in order to upgrade. All right, let's move on to some other questions. Okay. All right. Chris asked, does the statement act as an invoice as well? AKA, is this a place where they can pay for everything due? Yes. Okay. So it's actually both. Maybe we didn't do a great job naming this because we call it owner statements. But depending on who gets the payouts, that defines what it is. So if you as the manager receives the reservation payouts and therefore pay your owner every month, we generate a statement. That statement comes with certain columns that are relevant to that scenario. If your owner receives the reservation payouts and you need to invoice them every month to get your commission, then we would generate an invoice. And again, the invoice comes with columns very specific to that scenario. So we're smart about it. You don't have to say like generate statement or generate invoice. Just tell us a little bit about who's getting the payouts and what your structure is, and we'll generate the appropriate report for your use case. Andrew asked, how about a monthly flat fee? Okay, so I think this is in regards to setting up the commission earlier. Let me see if I can pull up this screen where I talked a little bit about the commission. Oh, you know what? I didn't go into detail about the flat fee, so I'll just talk through it. Okay, so when you're generating your commission, there's an opportunity to do a per reservation flat fee. Some people's business model is quite interesting where they actually charge like $50 a reservation as like a communication fee or whatever it may be. Or they might do that maybe on top of like collecting the commission from what was actually paid for the reservation. We don't have a monthly flat fee right now. That's super interesting. I've heard of one other person doing that, kind of having like a subscription model, if you will, for managing other people's properties. It's not something we have today. That said, we do have the ability to have recurring monthly transactions. You could kind of do it that way if you wanted to set up like a recurring transaction that repeats every month for $500 or whatever it may be. We would still on that statement or invoice show all the reservations that checked in that month and the financials related to them. But if you don't charge a commission based on what the reservation actually earns, and instead you do the flat fee, you could kind of do it that way. But I'd love to hear in the chat, like if you can explain a little bit more about what you're doing. I'm kind of curious. That would be great. All right. We have a couple of accounting specific questions. So I'm going to bring Brandon on if that's okay. And okay, David is asking about trust accounting. So Brandon, could you speak a little bit about how we're thinking about trust accounting? Do we have any plans?
So we're in the process right now of high level, we started the integration with QuickBooks. We want to continue to grow and evolve that. So right now, what kind of our focus is really locking down on, are we having the account set up correctly? Are we adding transactions? There's, like I said, there's very minimal at the moment with that. So we're really trying to drive in and adapt what we have currently and then grow from there over the next few months. So that's kind of our high level focus there. And then we're going to continue to integrate more and more as we go, and definitely hearing more from our customers and what they're working on, what their needs are. That's definitely going to adapt. So that's where the focus right now. We've heard, like we said, a lot of the owner statements. I'm using them for myself compared to an actual owner. How are we adjusting? So those are things we're really driving in, is how we can adapt for all aspects and then continue to integrate more and more as we go forward.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. I mean, Brandon, gosh, I do that all the time because now we have two people that start with BR on my team. I'm sorry. Thank you, Brandon. Okay, I'm going to ask Morgan's question now. So some of my owners charge a surplus for cleaning fees. For example, they charge $295 to the guest. That amount goes to me, and then I pay the housekeeper $260. It's difficult to track the difference. Yeah, that is tough. So we do allow for pretty granular settings when you're configuring your earnings and creating your reservation commission in Hospitable. You have the option to, like, at the individual fee level with a slider, kind of say like, my owner keeps this much and I get this much, if you will. Now, right now that slider is percentage based. I think it would be a lot easier in your case to just be like, I get $35 instead of figuring out what that percentage is. But it is possible to do today to make sure that like you're only collecting what you actually need. So in this scenario, you would say that your owner keeps, whatever percentage, $35 is of the cleaning fee, and the rest is owed to me. Then on this statement, we would make sure that that's accounted for so that you're not losing out on whatever amount of cleaning fee that you need. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Aha, a question from Sam. Okay. Will we be able to customize commission arrangement per channels? The use case is that Airbnb co-host commission pays 20% automatically, whereas Vrbo still doesn't allow co-host split. Okay, we've had so many requests for this, and here's kind of how we think of it. I think to start, we will support this one day. So many of you guys do this. And it's because you get a lot of business as Airbnb co-hosts because they help you win your business, right? So it can be kind of like hacked, if you will, in owner statements today, where you just simply, you either say you make 0% commission on Airbnb, so that doesn't inform the total, or you just like match it to what exists in Airbnb and just know you wouldn't collect off of those. There's a very small bit of work that we need to do to actually make this function as it should. And we are going to be moving forward with that, hopefully in the next couple of weeks after we knock out a big project we're focused on now where we have accounting for owners. However, I do kind of want to just paint the picture of long term. So we kind of see Hospitable as ultimately being the place where you're going to be running your business. So for now, it makes total sense that you're collecting your commission payout from Airbnb directly. But think about the owner's experience there. It might feel a little bit disjointed for them to have to pay you one way for Verbo or receive payments from you for another platform. The best owner experience you can offer is one that's really cohesive, right? And it's the same regardless of platform. And so once we actually support owner payouts and payments, we are probably going to be encouraging a lot of our hosts to use that instead of doing something different for every single platform. That way the owner just can expect payment from one source. And we can even give you the flexibility to be able to say, like, I want to get paid out for every single reservation, or I want to get paid out every single month, kind of in alignment with however you publish your statements. I know with Airbnb, they pay out every single reservation kind of by default, which is great because everybody gets their money faster. And so that is something that we can also support regardless of platform. It would just be managed kind of through Hospitable as opposed to directly in the platforms. And then therefore you would have a lot more control. So yes, the answer is right now, not perfectly, but you can hack it. Soon we will support it. And in the future, we will support owner payments and payouts so that you don't have to do that at all. Okay, let me find some other questions. All right, a question on the owner portal. Okay, I would like to know what the timeline ETA is for the owner portal. Yes, I know, everyone's so excited about this. So am I. So I did talk a little bit about the portal earlier. The portal has an infinite roadmap. The portal is not going to be done anytime soon. However, we're going to deliver it to you once we feel like it's providing you value. And we think that that is when the portal can actually allow your owners to log in and view statements and invoices. So that is something that I think we're going to probably realistically have in April. We moved a couple of things around, but the team already has a good plan for how to tackle that. And once we do, I think it can be pretty quick. So let's plan on April for now, knowing that that's going to be the simple version of the portal that's then going to grow, expand, and be a lot more robust from there. All right, another question. What is the timeline to show hide column on statements? The team's literally working on it now. So I don't want to speak on their behalf, but I'm hoping we can have some form of customization to you in the next 2 weeks. And this would just basically be like, don't show this column. I think we'll probably start with like hiding the columns that are already there. When it comes to adding new columns that we don't even have yet, that's probably going to come a little bit after that. So we've heard a lot of feedback that like you don't want to show like your commission and your fees separate. You'd really rather that just be like what they owe you. And so we'll probably have those sorts of like simple hide column features in the next couple of weeks. Okay. Let's see. We have a couple of more questions, but I'd encourage you guys to post some more in the chat. We have about 7 more minutes to go. Oh yeah, you need to show columns. I understand. Hey, post in the chat what columns specifically you'd like to see. That'll be good to know. All right. There was another question about Airbnb co-hosts, which I think was a little bit of a duplicate. All right. Come on, ask your questions. Okay. So yeah, in the chat, they want to add cleaning fees and pet fees at a minimum. That makes perfect sense. Right now, the way that we do it on the statement is we actually combine like the sum of all the reservation fees that are changing hands. And so we might say that, say your cleaning fee is 150 and your pet fee is 50, we would show 200. But sometimes that number differs because of the different fees that are paid on the reservation. And the feedback is owners have been asking like, well, why is that 200 when that's 150? Well, there's a very simple explanation, but we're just not showing it in as granular as a way as to make it like really easy to kind of calculate left to right. Okay. All right, does anybody else have any more questions? I'm going through the chat quickly to see if we missed anything that we can be answering. Nick, we have another AI question. I can bring you on the stage. Let's see.
Yeah, so I just had to quickly read that question before answering, before starting to speak. Yeah, you're right. Those are two different things. So suggest with AI is the thing that you control to an extent. Like you allow AI to generate a draft, but then you are the one that decides whether or not you need to make any changes, and then go ahead and post it, or you write your own kind of thing. More and more, I'm hearing from hosts who have amazing experiences with it, especially on recent office hours, where for the most part, like suggest with AI just works for them, and they can send the messages as is. But other hosts have other experiences where they do need to tweak it here and there. But auto reply is different. Yeah. Although a lot of what happens for auto reply is the same engine, like really at its core as suggest with AI, we built stuff around that as well. So there has to be some decision making up front for whether or not this is something that the AI should even attempt to answer, and that it needs to look at the context available to it, whether that's property details, conversation, past replies, knowledge hub, all of that kind of goes in, and the AI needs to decide, should I go ahead and try and answer this, right? Suggest with AI doesn't actually do this, because if we start building in these additional kind of steps around it, the same way that we do with auto reply, well, you'll be sitting there for like a minute at a time waiting for suggest with AI to generate any message, and that's kind of not the point. It's meant to kind of save you time, get you out of the inbox faster than have you sit in the inbox for more. So yeah, auto reply has more going on around it to lead to a better decision for whether or not to write, what to write, whether or not to escalate, and there's kind of even a final sanity check afterwards, which is, again, like go through the context, kind of reason about whether or not this is something that should have been written, does it follow all guidelines, does it break any kind of constraints or restrictions, kind of double check your work kind of thing. So all of that takes about, let's say, a minute to process start to finish, but that results in something that should in most cases be a much more reliable AI response engine. In terms of whether or not Hospitable will replace HostBuddy at some point, I think it can already, depending on what's in your knowledge hub, what features you use on HostBuddy versus Hospitable. But we're always adding more functionality across the board, like as Emily's been saying. And that includes AI, as you've probably seen over the last kind of months and, well, even years. We have a lot in the pipeline, and auto reply will just keep improving.
Thanks, Nick. All right, Micah asks, and there's a couple of other very similar questions in the chat, so I'll combine the answers. But Micah asks, how do you handle one owner who owns multiple properties with multiple LLCs? I'll tell you how we handle it today, and then if Brandon wants to chime in with maybe some expert accounting recommendations, he can do so. So today, our statements and invoices are property specific. So we generate a statement for a single property. You can have an owner who owns multiple properties. So if owner A owns 5 properties, we would generate 5 statements, one for each property. If there's a reason to put them in our system as different owners, maybe under their LLC, that in theory could be done. When you're creating an owner, you tell us if that owner is an individual or if they're a business. And if they're a business, then you could put their business, LLC name and account for it like that. There was a similar question about how we kind of handle parent-child. We're not doing a great job of this today, and this is a quick improvement we really need to make. People who are leveraging our parent-child feature have a parent property with multiple children underneath, but the owner really probably just cares to get a statement about all of them. And we would actually send several, one for each parent and child. And so that's an improvement that we're going to look to as well, like consolidating a statement based on parent-child relationship or based on owners. We're almost at time. Brandon, no pressure if you didn't have anything to add, but is there anything specific that we need to be thinking about with people with separate LLCs?
I'm like, there I am. No, I think that's the biggest thing that we're looking at now is how are we managing our accounting when you have multiple accounts or multiple property owners or businesses at the same time. So that's something we're already looking at and how we can further adapt on that for our clients and our customers, as well as, for you as property managers or for you as owners as well. So definitely are already on our radar, and we're definitely looking forward to continue to adapt and move forward with that. So
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. It was awesome hearing some of your questions and seeing the poll results, learning about what you're more interested in, and learning a little bit more about your business. We'll be having another town hall next week on Wednesday at noon Eastern. So please join us if you'd like to hear a little bit about our progress between now and next week. And yeah, again, this will be recorded and we'll see you next time. Thank you.